Welcome to Waking the Why, a podcast about uncovering the purpose behind life's crucible moments. Each episode, you'll hear from real people who turn their struggles into strength and their stories into light. If you're searching for meaning, walking through something hard, or just love stories that stir the soul, you're in the right place.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Waking the Why, where we discover the purpose behind life's crucible moments. My name is Stacy Peterson, and our guest today is Christine Jacobson-Ware. You guys, I love this lady. Christine and we met each other, it's roughly 8 years ago or so.
For sure.
Yeah, she took a chance on me in so many ways, and so I'm so grateful for you.
You're very blessed.
Thank you. Well, Christine, to start, why don't you tell us your story?
And this is such a wonderful question. I actually get this a lot. And so the first thing that comes to mind is my life is governed by God. I do everything for Him. And so the success of my life, the purpose of my life, and who I have become is truly because of Him. Every decision I make, whether I'm going right or left or up or down, has to do with where I'm going towards Him and for Him.
Have you always been that way?
Yes.
Yeah. So that
Since I was little.
you had that connection to God.
Very, very. When I was, in fact, growing up in Hawaii, I grew up Catholic in Hawaii. We went to church every weekend, and I was surrounded a lot by the priests and the clergy. And as a young woman at 12, I wanted to be a nun.
Yeah.
Yes. To serve Him and to be with Him, I felt very close to Him all the time. So, and even with my parents and growing up and stuff, and you know how parents do things. And even amongst that, I would say, but what would God, what am I going to do for Him? It kind of got squashed because my dad led me and said no, because my dad wanted to be a priest.
Okay.
So he was going to be a priest. And so when he was in the seminary, I guess he had met my mother. And that's when he decided that was not the life, for me.
Right.
And I'm the oldest. Okay. And so in the Catholic Church, you're supposed to give one of your children to become either a nun or a priest to keep the vocation alive in Catholicism. But my father said, kind of squashed that idea. And that led me down different pathways because your parents always influence you.
For sure.
However, inside my heart, it always has been with God. And I know because I go to church all the time. I just listen to Him.
It is something that's amazing about you. Well, you're not a nun, so
No.
we know that. Why don't you tell the audience, what do you do?
Oh, well, in my whole life. So in fact, because of that, even when I decided I was the first of my Hawaiian family to leave the islands for college. Oh, wow. So I wanted to go somewhere where I could get a profession to help others. Because no matter what, it was going to be to help others. As a nun, I wanted to be taking care of an orphanage with a lot of kids and serving God that way in a really underprivileged country, how I always thought of it. Right. So then I said, how can I still do that? Mm-hmm. But then I figured, so I started to think I'm going to go into marine biology because I love science, right? Okay. And I thought, how is that going to work out? I could only help sea animals. And then I thought, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with people. And so then I changed my curriculum. I went to Purdue from Hawaii at 18, never leaving the island. That was shocking. I went to Purdue and I took a personality test in college. And the first thing that came up on the personality test, because that allows you to go to what curriculum and what career would be best for you. Right. The number one thing came up, minister, priest, and nun. So I'm like, oh no, my dad is going to kill me because I just went to college so far away. But the number 2 came up as a pharmacist. And I'm like, what the heck is a pharmacist? I didn't even know what a pharmacist was. I didn't think I grew up with a pharmacist or anything like that in the family, but apparently I did. It was to serve. And so I said, okay, I'll take that curriculum. And I went into science and I loved every single chemistry class, everything. And then when I got out, I'm like, okay, now I have to be a pharmacist. I don't even know what that is. So I started to do some internships and stuff. And I was serving the public. I got to see the public every day. That personality test is really, really good because it really led me to something I really loved. But when I got into pharmacy, I was tired of filling 1,000 prescriptions a day and counting pills to 100. I mean, everybody knows how to count to 100. And I said, no. This is not what I wanted to do. This is not fulfilling what my dream was. So I decided, well, maybe I need to. It just led me down a pathway. God gave me all these pathways and decisions I had to make that led me to build my own pharmacy. And that was in 2000 in Utah now.
And you've just celebrated 25 years,
I know,
which is amazing. And I didn't know at your celebration, you had told everybody that you were the first female independent-owned pharmacy here in Utah.
Yes, which was shocking.
It's amazing.
In 2000, because I moved here in 1997, because when I came to Utah, I said, this place is where God is. My husband came for an interview for the hospital, for IHC, which is a big, big company in Utah. When I came to Ogden, and then they wanted us to go to Park City, and they wanted us to go to Salt Lake City. And this is 1997.
Yeah.
But when I came to Ogden, I said, oh my gosh, God lives here. I said, we went to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We went to California. We went all over the West Coast to interview. And my family was young. And I said, no, God lives in Ogden. I want to live in Ogden. And so I raised my family here. And it was the best decision, like I said. And then the path led me, said, you should open your own pharmacy. And I said, no, I don't want to.
I know, right? Oh.
I want to be a mother. I want to be.
No, sometimes God has a totally different plan, right? He gives us these nudges of like forcing us out of our comfort zone. So hard.
But you pray about it, and I listen. And even if it's a decision, I said, I don't want to. He knew better than me.
Right.
And so I took the steps to follow him again. But sometimes it's not what you want to do. Right. And when I went to get my license, the woman said, you are the first woman. I said, what? That doesn't make any sense. This is 2000. She said, no, you are the first. Wow. And I was shocked. And that was a pro and a con. In the beginning, it was very, very difficult. There was a lot of obstacles with being a woman and in the industry. It started like that in the 80s because pharmacy was a male profession.
For sure.
But once again, every decision I made was about God and tried to stay humble and kind and quiet. And that was part of my demeanor. So once again, building a pharmacy, I needed it to be successful because I wanted to follow his path.
Right.
And I wanted to make my pharmacy for him.
Right.
To take care of the public.
Yeah.
So it was hard so then every decision, I was like, because of a woman, I thought, I just need to be more quiet and make little steps without footprints at first. But now as 25 years, I make heavy steps, big footprints. But to start, because I wanted to be successful in the community and I wanted them to see that I loved them. And it didn't matter that I was a woman not staying home with my children, which it did matter because I should have learned better about how to manage that. But as a young woman, it was.
But don't you think I relate? Don't you think, though, that's part of our journey? That's part of our learning. And I really do think that every single one of us has decisions to make, and God calls us to do different things. And I think part of those callings is a struggle. And I think that becomes an important part of our journey and something not to discount. And I'm learning to not look back and say, I should have. And I'm like, no, I made a decision at the time with the best information that I had, believing that I'm following God's path, and I was just going to keep doing it.
Yes.
No matter how hard it is.
Yes. And we make mistakes.
But like he fornailed us. Hey, just kidding. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You do.
So when did you add in functional medicine?
So part of pharmacy was just watching people fill one drug after another and people getting sick. And because I love the people and I wanted to be surrounded by people, especially my biggest mission, especially when I speak to God, is I want to make sure when I pray every morning is that I'm helping somebody different. But I never want to miss anyone. My biggest thing is that I don't miss anybody. I could see even the smallest of people because he will always come that way. I'm always looking and I'm always surrounded by people, but I don't want to miss the ones that are very hopeless and need more help and not what you can see. And so my goal every day is to make sure I don't do that. Part of it was when people kept getting medicine and they're getting more sick, I'm like, this makes no sense. So I decided I would save my money and go back to medical school because doctors wouldn't listen. I'm like, why are you getting more drugs on top of another drug for another drug? And it just made no sense. So I decided to go back and get a disciplinary in medicine with functional medicine. At the time, I was in my late 30s, so I could finish the disciplinary and then do a residency and become a doctor. But I was married to a doctor at the time who forbade me not to do that. And so, because he said, if you become a doctor, there can't be two doctors in the house, so we will get a divorce. And I thought, okay, my marriage is important. So that becomes important. My family's first, and then my career and serving. But serving God is first. And that becomes the first. So what happened was, if I'm serving the public, I need to look at how am I going to do that, still satisfy my family. And so because of that, I did the medical disciplinary with everything as a board certification, but not become an MD. So, which was totally fine because I built my career and my curriculum as trying to incorporate a lot of other healthcare providers so we could take care of the community one by one. And that allowed me to still take care of everybody the way that's the right way to do it. And it's a constant study and a constant struggle to keep abreast of the new science and medicine, but I am not afraid because my goal is to take care of the person and I want to do it right. And that's because of him.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So, life throws challenges at us, even when we are following God's plan, right? You were skiing one day. Why don't you tell us that story?
Yeah.
This is remarkable.
Yeah, well, I'm truly, the most remarkable thing about that whole situation was because I got to be with God every minute of my life. And yes, it happened to be a day where my friend's birthday, we all went skiing and everything. I was on a green run. I wore a helmet. I was skiing with kids. Fell down like everybody else does. But apparently when I got to the bottom of the hill, when I tried to take my skis off to get on the gondola, I kept tipping over. And I couldn't stand up. And I wasn't sure why. I didn't feel bad. I had a helmet on. But anyway, long story short, we went to the ER. They ran a CAT scan. They said, there's nothing wrong. Your helmet is perfect. Go home. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But 29 days from the day I fell, my brain was bleeding. In that few minutes, I was in the pharmacy even taking care of patients. And they rushed me to the emergency room. And everything was happening so fast and nobody said anything. And yet the neurosurgeon finally came in and he said, we have to go in and drain your head. It's full of blood. So my body wasn't working. By the time I got to the ER, my arm was stuck to my body. My leg wasn't working. I didn't know my face had fallen because I don't look at myself all day, except for the people at work kept saying, something's wrong. You might have to go to the hospital.
And I'm like, Christine, you have to start serving people or stop serving people so you can go and help yourself.
Like, okay, well, maybe I don't know what's going on. So then I went. I drove there, but luckily after that, I know. But he said, we do not, because I kept saying, maybe we need a second opinion. Everybody's getting a little riled up. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, my body doesn't work. I don't know what's going on. But he says, if you do not do this in a few minutes, you're going to die. And I said, I didn't understand that word die because I have so much to do and I didn't plan on dying that day. I was like, okay, well, no, I got to plan my business. What am I doing? My family, I didn't plan. But since then I planned. So now I'm ready. I don't care. I'm ready to go to him at any time. I am ready. But I don't have to worry about anything else. At the time, I was really, really sad because I didn't have anything prepared. But as they were taking out my clothes and doing all this stuff and dragging me into the operating room, I was like thinking, oh my gosh, I need to say goodbye, but I couldn't say goodbye. And I'm going in there and I'm in the operating room and I said, I need my living will because if something happens to me, I do not want to be a vegetable. And so I'm telling, there's a sea of blue people in this white room that's humongous. And I'm wide awake. And they got me on the table and I said, please, my name is Christine Renee Jacobson. I'm of sound mind and body. If I die on this table, promise me you will take all my parts and give it away. I am supposed to be in somebody else. Please, I have a will, but nobody can find it. Everybody's upset. And there was a voice at my foot that said, I promise. And a man's voice on the left that said, I promise. And another gentleman's voice on my right that said, I promise. And my heart was at so much peace. And I was just asleep. And I thought, okay, I'm ready to go. I was happy to go at that moment. And I was like, okay, I was at peace and everything would be good. And then all of a sudden I woke up in this room of darkness. And I thought, oh my gosh, I was so scared. I was so sad. I said, oh God, I'm so sorry. Who did I not see?
Like, who am I? Where am I?
Exactly. I was so scared. I was so upset with myself. I kept saying, God, I'm so sorry. Who did I miss? What did I say? Not thank you or please. I don't remember. My goal is to not miss a person.
Right, I know.
And I was so upset. I said, please, God, please forgive me. What am I supposed to do? And I thought, well, maybe they're going to call my name. They're going to pull a number and I'm going to come and explain. And so my eyes just scanned the darkness, and in the right corner was a digital clock. And I thought, okay, there's a time clock in heaven to go to the gates to get to. I said, I'm so sorry. But because I turned, all of a sudden people were rushing in the room. And I'm like, oh, I didn't die. I thought. And it was all these, because you're in ICU, so because of a brain injury, they make it no stimulation. So at the time, when they told my family who was waiting outside, they said that she was going to die, but they said she lived. However, we erased her memory because her brain was still bleeding in the frontal lobe, so he had to cauterize it. So he says she will live, but she will not know who you are. She cannot be a pharmacist, and she won't remember her children. And so my son at the time was there, and he said, so why did you keep her alive? Why did we do this? And so he said, but she will live. And so, but I'm in ICU thinking about why I didn't go to heaven. They're out there very sad.
Right.
And then finally they said, your family is here. I said, oh, I would love to see them and stuff. And I couldn't really see very well. And everything was really hard and difficult. I remember I could recognize people's voices. And so I said, oh, how was your test? And, and all that. And apparently the nurse standing next to me said, everybody is crying. And I said, why? Are they okay? And she said, it's because they think you wouldn't remember them. And God already gave me my forgiveness. Wow. He gave me everything. And that whole journey, Stacy, every day, because I've had 9 brain surgeries since then. And it was one complication after another. My skull got infected, the plate that they put on, and then they put artificial skulls and my body rejected. And I was very, very sick for many, many years. The whole journey I loved every minute because he was with me. And there are pictures of me smiling and looking terrible and tubes coming out of my head. And I'm just so happy. And the hospital kept saying, you're our favorite patient. We just love seeing you. And then be trying to visit people in the hospital, trying to bring them candy or just visit because I'm stuck. And every morning I would get ready to leave the hospital and my neurosurgeon would come in and say, where are you going? And I said, I have to go to work. I have to go home. And he's like, no, you are in ICU. He goes, do you not feel sick? I said, no, am I sick? But if I could see myself, probably. But it wasn't about that. Yeah. God loved me. He carried me the whole time. So I felt so loved and I felt so good every single day. When everything was so bad, people said it was bad. And I'm like, okay. It's not bad. It could be a lot worse. It could have been my legs. And they're like, you think your legs would be better than your head? And I say, yes, I feel very blessed. And I have hats and scarves and my head was shaved and all lopsided and holes all over my head. But I felt blessed the whole time. In fact, at the end of that turmoil, which was that was 2013, and then it ended in 2018 finally, which was good. And the outcome is I don't have a skull. It's because nobody could figure out what to do, because they said nobody lived this long. And so they sent me to the university, they sent me everywhere, but I said, it's not about you. This is God. I mean, they would have students looking over me and saying, they're like, why is she still talking? How did she get dressed? How did she drive?
You never forgot anything. You've still been a pharmacist the whole time. That's one thing I remember, because I met you in 2017. It wasn't in 2017. I remember like one of our first meetings, you had just had your surgery. I couldn't even believe that we were talking, and you had your scarf on, and I'm like, this woman, like, who is she? But it's amazing. And I think, well, I don't want to say, I'll let you. What would you say, how is God using you as his hands? What would you say your purpose has been and is?
I feel like my life is for him. So if I live for him, obviously he didn't want me to die that day. You know, I've had several occasions where I should have passed, and I always live. I have good friends that say you have 9 lives. And I'm like, well, I feel like there might be a purpose.
Yeah.
But everything I do is for someone else.
Yeah.
Is what my goal is every day. And even when that communicates even to my husband or my family, my children who are now adults, which I was so busy, but there are people who come to see me. I need to help every person. And even when I leave the pharmacy that I built to open to help anybody who comes in. I don't care who you are, what you look like, how you can afford it. If you can't afford it, we give medications away. The ER, in fact, nearby always tells the patients, if you cannot afford this, you need to go to this pharmacy. And they do come, and I do give that to them. Because it's all about what is important for that patient at that time and the opportunities that they need. But everything we do.
Yeah, I'm crying because, so I started Momentum in January of 2016. So it'll be 10 years this coming January.
Oh my gosh.
And at the beginning of 2018, so we had already met, things got really, really hard. And, you know, I never thought that I would start my own company. Right. It was not like in my plan.
Right.
But I just felt God nudging me to do certain things. And there were several times throughout 2018 where I'm just like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Right. Why would you even ask me to do this? But I remember you and I had a monthly meeting, just our standard monthly meeting, and you could see something that was going on.
I know. I can always see.
Yeah. And so you know, you being you, just engaged in conversation, and I was just expressing where we were at, and you pulled out your checkbook in that moment. I don't even know if you remember this. And you wrote me a check for a certain sum of money, and
sorry. I don't remember that, but
that check sat in my laptop bag for a couple months as I was contemplating on where God really wanted this business to go, and how I was to serve him through the company. And I didn't know, and I didn't know if cashing your check was the right thing to do. And anyway, long story short, I knew it was time to make a pivot in the company, and I had to do that. I was at a financial situation, though, that I didn't know how like my family was going to survive, or let alone the business. I was going to have to make some tough decisions on the business front. But anyway, I just felt God nudging me to just cash the check. Yes. It will help you get through this time. You'll be able to pay her back, which I did. But it's just like when I hear, I love the way God uses us. I love that here you are wanting to be a nun when you're younger. And, you know, you go to school and he shows you here, no, be a pharmacist, do functional medicine. And regardless of who is in your office or walking on the street or whatever, just help them. And I'm so grateful that you saw me that day, that I'm grateful that God has guided us to one another. So glad.
I am very grateful for you, Stacey. I think that all the time, how grateful. They speak highly of you in the community and everything. And it's part of my success. I don't even know why people don't hire HR. What is wrong with you people?
Oh, you're
Because
okay.
because I have to make decisions every day on what is important to, now I have staff, I have people's families that are relying upon me.
Yeah.
I always have to make decisions on my business that still allows me to serve him.
Right.
And if I don't have time to do that, then I'm making it wrong. Yeah. So I pay for people to help me look good like you. And yes, it is valuable to me.
Oh,
God knows.
Thank you.
He knew.
He did. He did. He did. And I am,
Because I never had HR.
I'm so grateful.
You're my first. Can you imagine? 2016 years, 17 years. Didn't even know what the value of that was, right? But you're exactly. We make all these decisions in life, and obstacles come every day.
They do.
Every day. I pray a lot. I talk to him a lot. Yeah. He talks to me when I'm sleeping. And then I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Please. I don't want to do that. And he knows better.
He does.
He knows.
I know.
And if we listen, and people have come from far and wide because the city wrote a newspaper article on me during my journey, and they wanted to talk about why did my pharmacy success. And then they came and then they interviewed me, and this was 2000 and it's out there. I think it's 15, but they called me back and they said they talked to the editor. They want to change the article. It was supposed to be in an editorial. They moved me to the 8th section. I said, oh, okay, whatever. I don't know what you're talking about. So then, because we just interviewed, but she thought it was part of the faith. And so because of that article, people have come from far and wide to the pharmacy because the door is open. And they just wanted to talk about God. Yeah. They wanted to talk about God. People of all different sizes and colors and tattoos and horn. It did not matter. They came from everywhere to speak about God. And I was blessed again to speak about him.
Oh, I love that. Well, one last question, Christine.
Yes.
What would you say to someone, to our audience, who may be in the middle of their hard?
Yeah.
What advice, comfort would you give them?
We always have hard. Hard is part of it. He didn't say it would be easy. And what we do here will definitely determine where we go. Hopefully not a dark room, but nonetheless, But nonetheless, I feel like you should always know that he loves you.
Yeah.
He brought you woke up today because he loves you. And there is something for you to do today that you can still do that doesn't look easy, and you might not be happy in the moment, but look at the blessings he gives me all along the way. And I still have to go through the lava rocks, right?
Yeah.
And you still have to climb up above the volcano, but he's right there to carry you if you listen and if we hear. And I rely upon that a lot. And a lot of my decisions are made when I pray and I listen and I look and I try to see and the right thing to do. And it actually turns out right, even when we say we don't want to do that or it's the wrong things. And sometimes we make poor decisions, like a poor business decision or something, but it's never anything that would hurt anybody. And because of that, it is so minor.
It's so true. I imagine sometimes God saying, oh, Stacy.
Right.
Okay, now let me adjust from what you're doing. I do think that there are 1,000 different ways to get to where we want to go.
Yes.
Or where we need to go. And too often we hesitate to make the decision because we want to make the perfect one. Right. I think sometimes God's like, just make a decision. I'm here for you. I love you. I won't leave you.
That's right.
Alone.
And he won't. And when it's the hardest, what I have learned is he carries me. He truly carries me when it's so hard. And I've never been through that again. And after that journey, I said, I miss you so much. But he's like telling me, I'm here.
Right.
I'm here. I just felt that whole thing of him carrying me in. I missed that. But I don't know me. But yes.
No, it's so true. Well, my friends, isn't she amazing? Christine, thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy.
Let's just take a little bit of Christine's faith and the love that she has and share it with other people. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Waking the Why. If today's story moved you, share it with someone who needs it. And don't forget, your why is worth waking up for.